Alright, in today's comma video, let's take a look at the intro comma rule. And as the name indicates, we are primarily looking at the introductory part of any given sentence. There are a few varieties and specific examples to this rule, but here are a couple we're going to focus on. We need to separate an introductory word or phrase from the rest of a sentence by using a comma. So let's take a look at what we mean here in this example. Yes, Miss MD loves to buy new tennis shoes. The word yes here is an introductory word that does not, one, need to be included with the sentence in order for it to make meaning, but it does provide some sort of emphasis or clarity. As a result, I need to take this introductory word and I need to place a comma after it. So anytime we have an introductory word like well, or because, of course, those kinds of words, introductory words, at the beginning of a sentence need to be offset with a comma. Another case in which we use the intro rule is when we have a dependent clause, and by that we mean a word or phrase that cannot stand alone as a sentence. We need to separate it from an independent clause which can stand alone as a sentence. And we're only talking about this if the dependent clause is the thing that comes first. Again, hence our introductory rule. Let's look at an example. Hoping to win the game, Miss MD walked confidently to the free throw line. Let's take a look at our two parts of our sentence. Hoping to win the game. Could we just stop and say, hoping to win the game, period, end of sentence? No. That makes this section a dependent clause. Let's look at this section. Miss MD walked confidently to the free throw line. Could we stop, put a period there, and call that a complete sentence or an independent clause? Yes, we could. So what we have in the sentence is we have a dependent clause, meaning it needs something else to make it a complete sentence. And following that dependent clause, we have an independent clause, meaning it could stand alone. If we have that going on in our sentence, we need to separate our dependent clause from our independent clause with a comma. All right, let's take a look at something else. We will also use a comma if there is a verb in that introductory phrase. So if that little chunk that's starting off our sentence includes a verb, we're for sure using a comma. Take a look at what I mean here. After napping, he felt refreshed. Here's our little introductory phrase. And here we have a verb, napping. Remember, verbs are action words. So we have this introductory phrase which can't stand alone, followed by an independent clause which can stand alone. We're going to need to put a comma in there. Let's do a practice example. So as usual, either pause the video or wait for the quiz question to pop up if there is one, and see if there needs to be a comma in this sentence. Whenever I go to the bank, I stop at my aunt's office. So our first task is, let's take a look, scan the sentence, and say, is there any part of that that's an independent clause? It can stand alone as a complete sentence. If I look at this sentence, I can see right here, I stop at my aunt's office. That's an independent clause. We can leave that by itself. So if we took this out and we are left with, whenever I go to the bank, can that be a sentence on its own? No. You can't just say whenever I go to the bank, period. So we have a dependent clause followed by an independent clause, which means we need to put a comma in the sentence and it's go right after our dependent clause. So we would say, whenever I go to the bank, comma, I stop at my aunt's office. There is your intro rule.